California's already strict gun laws will get even stricter next year thanks to new legislation that Governor Jerry Brown signed into law on Friday. The new laws put new restrictions on purchasing assault weapons as well as further regulating the sale of ammunition in California. But Brown vetoed 5 other gun control bills that he thought were overregulative. One would have expanded the use of restraining orders to take guns away from people considered a danger to themselves and others. The new laws were first introduced to the California legislature in response to the San Bernardino shooting in December and got a push through the legislature after last month's mass shooting in Orlando. In a written statement Friday, Brown said, "My goal in signing these bills is to enhance public safety by tightening our existing laws in a responsible and focused manner, while protecting the rights of law-abiding gun owners." The National Rifle Association Institute for Legislative Action accused Brown of using the terrorist attacks for political gain, saying Governor Jerry Brown today signed a draconian gun control package, even though the state's already restrictive laws did nothing to stop the attack in San Bernardino. Brown's history with gun control measures is a complicated one. In the past, he's questioned whether new laws could make California safer without stepping on the rights of law-abiding gun owners. This may be just the beginning for California and new gun laws this year. A gun control measure known as Safety for All will appear on the November ballot.
Effective today, San Diego parents have to vaccinate their children if they want them to go to school. And 10 News reporter Riel Creighton spoke to a doctor who says the controversial new law makes for healthier children. Riel?
Ariel, he says it's pretty much the consensus of the medical community. Of course, not everyone agrees, but what it means essentially is that your kids will have to get your shots before they go to daycare, kindergarten, or the 7th grade. What the new law means for doctors like Howard Smart.
It should eliminate the frivolous reasons for not getting your children vaccinated.
Smart, a pediatrician at Sharp-Reese-Steele, says they've seen more cases of preventable diseases like whooping cough in the last 6 years than he's seen in his entire career.
The risk of getting a vaccine is much lower than the risk of not getting a vaccine.
The new law, now in full effect, gets rid of a parent's right to refuse to vaccinate based on personal or religious beliefs. Only those with valid medical conditions are exempt. Smart says in one fell swoop, it protects other children, those who are immunocompromised with conditions like leukemia, from parents, their children, the ones who've chosen not to vaccinate based on thin, non-scientific evidence such as a link to autism or other beliefs.
We had to do spinal taps on every baby with a fever. We don't have to do that anymore if they're vaccinated. We're more concerned about them having diseases that we shouldn't have to worry about.
Parents call the shots. No vaccine.
Long before the law was passed, protests erupted in downtown San Diego. Parents like Heather Hawks who say it unfairly limits their choice.
This legislation is unnecessary, it's overreaching, and it takes away human rights.
Now, Hawks actually left the state because of this law, packed up and moved to Florida. Coming up at 7 o'clock, what she says are the very real consequences of this law and why she is refusing to vaccinate her own children.
For the very first time, U.S. officials have given the green light for scientists to experiment with modification of human genes. It's been approved in the hope of trying to develop new anti-cancer technology. Human gene modification is a feared and highly debated topic for many reasons, and horror films aren't exactly helping.
All clear.
That's it.
Heart rate stable. If we don't use human DNA now, someone else will.
What was that?
Fact, we spoke to Daniel Calvers, an expert on the history of medicine, to discuss the viability of gene technology.
I was surprised to read that this approval has occurred without any mention of testing the technique in animal models. They've only been approved by a bioethics committee of the National Institutes of Health. You have to obtain the approval of the Food and Drug Administration, which sets a much higher barrier because this amounts to modifying parts of the human body. Main worries are that you modify the genes in the human body, in this case for immune cells, and then the immune cells could attack things that they're not intended to attack. So they could mess up the mechanisms of the body.
Erin O'Flaherty was crowned Miss Missouri early this month. And come September, she is going to be the first openly gay Miss America contestant in that pageant's 95-year history. And I want to show you this picture from this past weekend. It was the Gay Pride event in St. Louis, Missouri. There she is, surrounded by rainbows and lots of drag queens, too, and a lot of smiles. Erin, kind enough now to don the crown and join me live to talk about the experience. Congratulations, first of all, on winning your state crown, making it to the big contest, and making such a headline, too, because this is very significant for a lot of people. I just want to know what it's like for you, personally, to be doing this and to be at the vanguard of this movement.
It's overwhelming the amount of love and support that I've received, not only from the LGBT community, but from so many others as well. And really, I still just feel like just Erin, so not much has changed other than now I get to be someone that's in a public position of influence for my community, and I'm really excited about that.
Tell me a little bit about the contestants themselves, because I just sort of wondered what it would have been like in your common spaces like dressing rooms, etc. Were there any other contestants who weren't comfortable with it, or was everybody just sort of like, meh, no biggie?
No, the pageant world is an interesting one, and everybody just accepts everybody backstage. It's such a rush anyways, and all of the contestants are so nice. By the end of the week, we're all very friendly with each other, and we become lifelong friends, bonding through this process. So there were really no problems I ever ran into with that.
Now we start with breaking news from Iraq. 2 powerful explosions have hit Baghdad, killing more than 20 people. Islamic State has claimed responsibility for both attacks. The first blast hit a restaurant on a busy shopping street during a late-night screening of a Euro 2016 football match. The second occurred in northern Baghdad, reportedly killing 6 and injuring 12. So far, ISIL has claimed responsibility for both of the bombings. Now, the attacks occurred 2 weeks after the Iraqi army liberated the city of Fallujah from Islamic State. The military campaign began in late May and took nearly a month. Islamic State captured Fallujah back in January 2014 and held it for 2.5 years. Now, the city is located 65 kilometers west of the capital of Baghdad.
The leader of al-Qaeda, Ayman al-Zawahiri, has warned the United States of the gravest consequences if Boston Marathon bomber Dzhokhar Tsarnaev or any other Muslim prisoner is executed. Tsarnaev was sentenced to death last year for the 2013 bomb attack, which killed 3 people and injured more than 260.
Well, a naked man in New York's Times Square caused major commotion before jumping from the top of a ticket booth.
Not so cool, this. The hostage negotiations team tried to talk the naked 21-year-old man down. Police say he seemed agitated and was shouting incoherent messages about Donald Trump and Mother Earth. Then he jumped, falling about 16 feet, just missing a giant airbag police set up. It took half a dozen paramedics about 15 minutes to strap him onto a gurney. Police say he had just a few minor injuries.
Right now, another round of heavy rain and lightning moves through the area. It's been a wild day and night of weather that featured hail, heavy flooding, and lots of damage.
Maurice and Christine, now the rain has stopped, but look at this mess out here. Just some of the damage. Now this tree fell on top of these vehicles. This one in the middle, it got the worst of it. You can see the roof is completely caved in after today's severe weather. Lightning, thunder, and a downpour of rain. The skies opened up over Cedar Grove, New Jersey, and brought another round of wild weather just before 9 tonight. A similar scene earlier. Gusty winds, heavy rain, and cell phone video from Hainesport shows hail the size of marbles.
The winds were just twisting multiple ways, and there was just a lot of rain.
Ann Weinberg, director of the Learning Experience School on Pompton Avenue, mindful of today's tornado watch, saw the bad weather start to roll in and, as a precaution, moved the children to a safe location.
We were standing watching the rain and could see things flying toward the building, and the thought was, oh my God, this is really happening.
A tree from the property above the school parking lot fell onto 4 vehicles below, one of those belonging to Angeria Burke.
I was like, oh my God, I start crying, obviously, because it's my only way to get around.
Damage widespread with massive trees uprooted. This one fell on a home in Poughkeepsie and a handful at historic Morgan's Farm and Museum. Tents outside the farm twisted up and destroyed.
It was just crazy winds. They were going in all directions.
Power lines also down as PSE&G crews work to restore power to hundreds of residents, as people here must now spend the holiday weekend cleaning up after Mother Nature.
Venezuela's economic and political crisis continues to devolve into a humanitarian one. A lack of access to food and normal household items has led to rioting and clashes with police.
We are trying to get to the presidential palace so they can tell us why there is no food arriving.
According to reports, rioters have attacked delivery vehicles hoping to find something to eat. In a recent study, 87% of people said they didn't have enough food. There are even reports of people dying in food lines. The country has been in economic decline for years now, thanks in large part to political mismanagement and corruption. The country's massive oil reserves haven't helped much because of low oil prices worldwide, and inflation is heading toward more than 700%. In an attempt to save resources, Venezuela's embattled president, Nicolas Maduro, put food distribution under the control of local citizen committees. But critics say those committees are biased toward people who are supportive of Maduro's government. Maduro's administration says the crisis is overblown. According to the Washington Post, it's blamed the protests and riots on an economic war led by foreigners and private businessmen who it claims are hoarding food supplies to destabilize the government. It's hard to see how the country can safely escape the situation it's in without some type of intervention. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry has supported, quote, a fair and timely recall referendum on Maduro's presidency.